あ、ディスク変わったのか。ディスクが2、3、ディスク3か。再生を続けますと、それぞれにミュージック9。この曲を再生したと再生を続けますか？とOrgans such as heart and liver. In June 1997, Japan legalized organ transplant from brain-dead donors, and the first transplants were performed in 1999. During the first 3 years after legalization, however, only 4 such transplants were performed, though there were numerous potential recipients. One obstacle facing the medical community is that the law does not define brain death as human death, yet only allows brain-dead patients to donate organs. Even now, many Japanese are uncomfortable with the idea of moving organs from a body without being hurt, even if the brain is not functioning. As a result, no national consensus on brain death has been reached, and organs are in short supply. To cope with this shortage, animal organs, such as bone or in the US, more than 30 animal-to-human transplants have been performed since 1993. Obstacles remain, however. The body can reject the organ, animal disease, and some people oppose such transplant for ethical reasons. Uh, in many countries, organ transplants are considered the most appropriate treatment for patients with incurable diseases of bad organs such as heart and liver. In June 1997, Japan legalized organ transplant from brain-dead donors, and first transplants were performed in 1999. During the first 3 years of legalization, however, only 4 such transplants were performed, though there were numerous potential recipients. One of the satisfying committee is that the law does not define blind death as human death; it only allows blind death patients to donate organs. Even now, many Japanese are uncomfortable with the idea of moving organs from the body without being hurt, even if the brain is not functioning. As yet, no national consensus on brain death has been reached, and organs are in short supply. To cope with the shortage, animal organs such as bamboo and pig livers can be used. In the US, more than 30 animal-to-human transplants have been performed since 1963. Obstacles remain, however. The body can reject the organ or contract an animal disease, but some people oppose such transplant for ethical reasons. Ethical reasons. Uh, Consider most appropriate treatment for patients with curable disease or vital organs such as heart and liver. In June 1997, Japan legalized organ transplant from brain-dead donors, and the first transplants were performed in 1999. During the first 3 years after legalization, however, only 4 such transplants were performed, though there were numerous potential recipients. The answer facing the medical community is that the law does not define brain death as human death; it only allows brain-dead patients to donate organs. Even now, many Japanese are uncomfortable with the idea of removing organs from a body without being hurt, even if the mm, as a result, no national consensus on brain death has been reached, and organs are in short supply. To cope with this shortage, animal organs such as bamboo and pig livers can be used. In the US, more than 30 animal obstacles remain, however. The body can reject the organ or contract an animal disease, and some people oppose such transplant for ethical reasons. まあ、読みやすい文章だな。メイン関係代名詞、関係詞が全然ない。Accounts to the most appropriate disease such as 関係詞がない。was planned to perform 関係詞ないな。まあ、あるか、一応。It's that the law does not define brain death as human death, yet only allow brain dead patient to donate. まあでも、Japanese, many Japanese uncomfortable with the idea of removing organ from body with the panic hard even if the brain is not facing. There is no consensus on brain death has been reached. Organ are no short supply. Organ are in short supply. To cope with this shortage, animal organs such as bone and pig liver can be used. In the US, more than 30 animals. 接続詞が多いな。29. In many countries, organ transplant are considered appropriate treatment for pain, such as heart and liver. In June 1997, Japan legalized organ transplant for brain dead donors, and the first transplant was performed in 1999. During the first 3 years after legalization, however, only 4 such transplants were performed, though there are numerous potential recipients. One obstacle facing the medical community is the law not to define brain death as human death, yet only allow brain-dead patients to donate organs. Even now, many Japanese are uncomfortable with the idea of removing organs from body without being hurt, even if the brain is not functioning. As a result, no national consensus on organ short supply. To cope with the shortage, animal organs such as bone and pig livers can be used. In the US, more than 30 animal-to-human transplants have been transferred. Obstacles remain, however. The body can reject the organ or contract an animal disease, and some people oppose such transplant for ethical reasons. In many countries, organ transplants are considered the most appropriate treatment for patients with incurable disease of vital organs such as the heart, liver, and in June 1997, Japan legalized organ transplant from brain dead donors, and the first transplant in 1999. During the first 3 years of the legalization, however, only 4 such transplants were performed, though there were numerous potential recipients. One obstacle facing the medical community is that the law does not define brain death as human death, yet only allow brain dead patients to donate organs. Even now, many Japanese are uncomfortable, even if the brain is not functioning. As a result, no national consensus on brain death has been reached, and organs are in short supply. To cope with this shortage, animal organs such as bamboo and pig livers can be used. In the US, more than 30 animal-to-human transplants have been performed. Reject the organ or contract an animal disease, and some people oppose such transplant for ethical reasons. Even if the brain is not functioning. As a result, no national consensus on brain deaths has been reached, and organs are in short supply. To cope with this shortage, animal organs such as bamboo and pig livers can be used. In the US, more than 30 animal to human transplants have been performed since 1963. Obstacles remain, however. The body can reject the organ or contract an animal disease, and some people oppose such transplant for ethical reasons. Hmm. I consider the most appropriate treatment for patients with incurable disease of vital organs, such as the heart and liver. In June 1997, Japan legalized organ transplant from brain-dead donors, and the first transplant was performed in 1999. During the first 3 years after legalization, however, only 4 such transplants were performed, though there were numerous potential recipients. One obstacle facing the medical community is that the law does not define brain death as human death; it only allows brain-dead patients to donate organs. Even though many Japanese are uncomfortable with the idea of removing organs from a body beating heart, as a result, the national consensus on brain death has been reached, and organs are in short supply. To cope with this shortage, animal organs such as bamboo and pig livers can be used. In the US, more than 30 animal to human transplants have been performed since 1963. The body can reject the organ or contract an animal disease, and some people oppose such transplant for ethical reasons. In many countries, organ transplants are considered the most appropriate treatment for patients with incurable disease or vital organs, such as the heart and liver. In June 1997, Japan legalized organ transplant from brain donors, and the first transplant was performed in 1999. During the first 3 years after legalization, however, only 4 such transplants were performed, though there were numerous potential recipients. One obstacle facing the medical community is that the law does not define brain death as human death, yet only allows brain-dead patients to donate organs. Even though many Japanese are uncomfortable with the idea of removing the organ from the body with a beating heart. As a result, no national consensus on brain death has been reached, and organs are in short supply. To cope with this shortage, animal organs, such as bamboo and pig livers, can be used. In the US, more than 30 animal-to-human transplants have been performed since 1963. Also remain, however. The body can reject the organ or contract an animal disease, and some people oppose such transplant for ethical reasons. 変えるか。ディスクカードめんどいな。めんど。 Mm, Humans. The two-day gathering of delegates from more than 30 nations, mainly in Asia, an international organization, came at a time when concerns were mounting that the H5N1 strain of avian influenza, which has been spreading throughout Asia and has recently cropped up in Turkey, could change into forms that could pass easily among humans and potentially kill millions of people. The delegates are expected to discuss and recommend regional and international response mechanisms, such as an early warning detection system for a pandemic and operation support for early response efforts in Asia. Organizers said rapid containment will include the use of antivirus or sooner spread of virus, plus possible public health measures such as quarantine restriction on human movement, and social distancing. A WHO media advisory says the event is part of international initiative aimed at increasing global collaboration and coordination before a pandemic strikes. A simulation by researchers on a new type of influenza showed Wednesday that such a disease was spread dramatically via crowd train. According to the simulation, in a city with a population of 800,000, the number of flu patients will be peak about 50 days after the infection of the first person under usual circumstances. However, when crowded trains are defective, the number of flu patients can peak 20 to 40 days earlier and increase victims overall by about 10 percentage points. 10 point. Uh, in Tokyo to discuss how to contain a possible global pandemic sparked by the spread of bad food and mankind. Comes a time the concern amounted the H5N1 strain of avian influenza, which has been spreading throughout Asia and has recently cropped up in Turkey, could change into forms that could pass easily among humans and potentially kill millions of people. The delegates are expected to discuss and recommend regional and international response mechanisms, such as an early warning detection system for a pandemic and operational support or early response efforts in Asia, organizers said. Rapid containment would include the use of antivirus as soon as the spread virus spreads, possible public health measures such as quarantine restriction of human movement, and social distancing. A WHO media advisor said the event is part international initiative aimed at increase global collaboration and in coordination before a pandemic strikes. A simulation by researchers on a new type of influenza showed Wednesday that such a disease was spread dramatically via crowd train. According to the simulation, in cities with a population of 800,000, the number of flu patients would peak in about 50 days after the infection of the first person under usual circumstances. However, when crowds running are factored in, the number of flu patients can peak 20 to 40 days earlier and increase victims overall by about 10 percentage points. International talks, jointly hosted by Japan and the World Health Organization, happened Thursday in Tokyo to discuss how to contain a possible global pandemic sparked by the spread of bird flu among humans. The two-day gathering of delegates from more than 30 nations, mainly in Asia, an international organization, comes at a time when concerns are mounting that the H5N1 strain of avian influenza, which has been spreading throughout Asia and has recently cropped up in Turkey, could change into forms that could pass easily among humans and potentially kill millions of people. The jury is expected to discuss and recommend regional and international response mechanisms, such as an early warning detection system for a pandemic and operation support for early response from Asia, antivirus. Implement a show Wednesday. The Saturdays with driver dramatically were crowd trained. According to the simulation, in a city with a population of 800,000, the number of flu patients will peak in about 50 days as the infection was present and the usual instances. However, when crowd training effectively, the number of flu patients can peak 20 to 40 days earlier and increase victim overall by about 10 percentage points. Uh, 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 28、7、26か。In Europe, there was growing resentment at the way genetically modified food had been forced into public consumer, began demanding label GM and non-GM products. When the Americans refused to sell them separately, various supermarkets stopped buying their maize and soybeans. The environmentalists want to prove that modified crops would not harm other species. On the contrary, they have reported from Cornell University of a drastic decline in the marked butterfly population related to pollen from GM corn. Then came an announcement: the U.S. agribusiness have been developed a tomato chain. It convinced selling the cereal to ensure the farmer could not follow the traditional practice of taking seed from their own crop for use the following year. The European agencies were furious. If such seeds were marketed over other countries, farmers became totally dependent on American agribusinesses. The resulting bad publicity led to hasty denial by the producer of any plan to market such seeds. The harmful effects of genetically modified crop of the environment are gradually appearing. The disappearance of benevolent insects and the growth of absolute resistant weeds, the contamination of nearby organic farms. Health problems have also surfaced, including a report including allergy and decreasing effectiveness of antibiotic drugs. If, assumed rightly, no serious problem develop in due course, there will be huge lawsuits, and some biotech company may go bankrupt. However, the system features allows them to gamble with our health and environment will remain. A system which priority is given to technological development and profit rather than to safety and social responsibility. 疲れた。In Europe, there was growing resentment as the way genetically modified foods has been forced on the public. Consumers began demanding labels that allowed them to distinguish the non-GM product. When the Americans refused to sell them separately, other supermarkets started buying their maize and soybeans. Environmentalists want to prove the modified crop will not harm other species. On the contrary, conversely, a drastic decline in monarch butterfly population led to pollen from GM corn. Then came the announcement: The U.S. agribusiness has developed not only the gene. It could be inserted into the seeds to ensure the farmer could not follow the traditional practice of taking seeds from their own crop for use the following year. Development agencies were furious. If such seeds were marketed to developing countries, farmers would become totally dependent on American agribusinesses, resulting in piracy. That capacity not by a producer or any plan to market such seeds. The Hampcraft factory substantially modified crop on the invasive agricultural preparing. The disappearance of the aerobic insect, the growth of absolutely resistant weeds, the contamination of nearby organic farms. Health problems have also surfaced, including a reported increase in allergy and decrease in effectiveness of antibiotic drugs. If, as seems likely, no serious problem develop in due course, there will be huge lawsuits, and some biotech company may go bankrupt. However, the system which has allowed them to gamble on health and environment will remain a system in which priority is given to technological development and profits rather than to safety and social responsibility. Ah. Many Americans eat seldom separately. British supermarkets stock buying maize and soybeans. Environmentalists want to prove that modified crops will not harm our species. On the contrary, they have calling university a drastic decline in monarch butterfly population related to pollen from GM corn. Then came the announcement the US agribusinesses have developed a terminator gene, which could be inserted into seeds of their own crops for use following year. Development agencies were furious. If such seeds marketed to developing countries, farmers became totally dependent on American agribusinesses, with the resulting publicity later hesitated by producers of any plan to market such seeds. There are harmful effects of genetically modified crops on the environment are gradually appearing. The disappearance of benevolent insects, the growth outside resistant weeds, the contamination of nearby organic farms. Health problems have also surfaced, including reporting increased allergy and decreased effectiveness of antibiotic drugs. If, as seems likely, more serious problems develop in due course, the huge lawsuit and some biotech companies may go bankrupt. However, the system which has allowed them to gamble with health and environment will remain a system in which priority is given to technological development and profit rather than to safety and social responsibility. Social. In Europe, there was growing resentment at the way genetically modified food has been forced on the public. Consumers began to demand labels that allowed distinguish between GM and non-GM products. In Europe, there was a growing resentment at the way genetically modified food has been forced on the public. Consumers began demanding labels that allow them to distinguish between GM and non-GM products. When the Americans refused to sell them separately, British supermarkets stopped buying their maize and soybeans, modified crops that harm species. On the contrary, they have reports calling university a drastic decline in monarch butterfly population related to pollen. Corn. Then came the announcement that US agribusinesses have developed a time strategy that seeks to ensure the farmer could not follow traditional practice of taking seed of their crops for use the following year. And development agencies were furious. If such seeds marketed to developing countries, farmers became totally dependent on American agribusinesses. The result repelled market such seeds with harmful effects of genetically modified crops on the environment as gradually appearing. The disappearance of vulnerable insects, the growth of resistant weeds, the contamination of nearby organic farms. Health problems have also surfaced, including a falling in immunology and decrease in the effectiveness of antibiotic drugs. If, as seems likely, more serious problems develop in due course, there will be huge lawsuits. Certain biotech companies may go bankrupt. However, the system which has laws that gamble with our health and our environment will remain. This priority given to technological development and profits, the safety and social responsibility. Legacy market stopped by main soybeans. Environmentalists want to prove that modified crops will not harm other species. On the contrary, they have reports from Cornell University of drastic decline in the monarch butterfly population related to pollen from GM corn. Then came the announcement that US agribusinesses had developed a terminator gene, which could be inserted into their seeds to ensure the farmer could not follow the traditional practice of taking seeds from their own crops for use the following year. Development agencies were furious. If such seeds were marketed to developing countries, farmers would become totally dependent on American agribusinesses. The resulting bad publicity led to hasty denial by the producer of any plan to market such seeds. The harmful effects of such genetically cropped environment are gradually appearing. The disappearance of the benevolent insect, the growth of absurd resistant weeds, health problems have also suffered, including a potential increase in allergy and decrease in effectiveness of antibiotic drugs. If, as seems likely, more serious problems thereof in due course, there will be huge lawsuits, and some biotech companies may go bankrupt. However, the system which allows them to gamble with our health and environment remain a system in which priority is given to technological development and profit rather than to safety and social responsibility. International talks, jointly hosted by Japan and the World Health Organization, opened Saturday in Tokyo to discuss how to contain a possible global pandemic sparked by the spread of birth among humans. The two-day gathering of delegates from more than 30 nations, many in Asia, and international organizations comes at a time when concerns are mounting that the H5N1 strain of avian influenza, which has been spreading throughout Asia and has recently cropped up in Turkey, could change into forms that could pass easily among humans and potentially kill millions of people. The delegates are expected to discuss and recommend regional and international response mechanisms, such as an early warning detection system for pandemic and operation support for early response for the major organized rapid containment of included in the virus or snapshot spread of virus, plus possible public health measures such as quarantine, restriction on human movement, and social distancing. A WHO media advisory said the event is part of an international initiative aimed at increasing global collaboration and coordination before a pandemic strikes. A simulation by researchers on a new type of influenza showed Wednesday that such a disease would circulate dramatically via crowd training. According to the simulation, in a city with a population of 800,000, the number of flu patients will peak in about 50 days after the infection of the first person under usual circumstances. However, when crowd training are factored in, the number of flu patients can peak 20 to 40 days earlier and increase victims overall by about 10 percentage points. International talks, jointly hosted by Japan and the World Health Organization, opened Thursday in Tokyo to discuss how to contain a possible global pandemic sparked by the spread of bird flu among humans. The 2 days gathering of delegates from more than 30 nations, many Asia, and international organizations comes at a time when concerns are mounting that the H5N1 strains of avian influenza, which has been spreading throughout Asia and has recently cropped up in Turkey, could change into a form that could pass easily among humans and potentially kill millions of people. The delegates are expected to discuss and recommend regional and international response mechanisms, such as early warning detection system for pandemic and operation support for early response efforts in Asia, organizers said. Rapid containment will include the use of antivirals to snuff out the spread of virus, plus possible public health measures such as quarantine, restriction on human movement, and social distancing, a WHO media advisory said. The event is part of the international initiative aimed at increasing global collaboration and coordination before a pandemic strikes. A simulation by researchers on a new type of influenza showed Wednesday that such a disease was dramatically by crowd training. According to the simulation, in a city with a population of 800,000, the number of patients will peak in about 20 days after the infection with first person under usual circumstances. However, when qualifying a factory, the number of flu patients can peak 20 to 40 days earlier and increase victims overall by about 10 percentage points. International talks. 지금, 음, 어떻게 될까? Many countries organ transplant are considered the most appropriate treatment for patients with pancreatic disease and vital organs such as the heart and liver. In June 1997, Japan legalized organ transplant for brain dead donors, and the first transplant were performed in 1999. During the first 3 years after legalization, however, only 4 such transplants were performed, though there were numerous potential recipients. One obstacle facing the medical community is the road to not define brain death as human death and only allow brain-dead patients to donate organs. Even though many Japanese are uncomfortable with the idea of moving the organ from the body without getting hurt, even if the brain is not functioning. As a result, no national consensus on brain death has been reached, and organs are in short supply. To cope with this shortage, animal organs such as the baboon and pig liver can be used. In the US, more than 30 animal-to-human transplants have been performed in 1963. Obstacles remain, however. The body can reject the organ or contract an animal disease, and some people oppose such transplant for ethical reasons. In many countries, organ transplants are considered the most appropriate treatment for patients with curable diseases or vital organs, such as the heart and liver. In June 1997, Japan legalized organ transplant from brain-dead donors, and the first transplant was performed in 1999. During the first 3 years after legalization, however, only 4 such transplants were performed, though there were numerous potential recipients. One obstacle facing the medical community is the route diagnostic human death, yet only allows brain-dead patients to donate organs. Even though many Japanese are uncomfortable with the idea of learning, they only allow brain patients to donate organs. Even though many Japanese are comfortable with the idea of removing bleeding hearts. One obstacle facing in the medical community is that the law does not define brain death as human death; it only allows brain dead patients to donate organs. Even now, many Japanese are uncomfortable with the idea of removing organs from a body with a beating heart, even if the brain is not functioning. As a result, no national consensus on brain death has been reached, and organs are in short supply. To cope with this shortage, animal organs, such as bamboo and pig livers, can be used. In the US, more than 30 animal-to-human transplants have been performed since 1963. Our school remains, however, the body can reject the organ or contract an animal disease, as some people oppose such transplants for ethical reasons. In many countries, organ transplants are considered the most appropriate treatment for patients with incurable diseases of vital organs, such as the heart and liver. In June 1997, Japan legalized organ transplants from brain dead donors, and the first transplant performed in 1999. During the first 3 years after legalization, however, only 4 such transplants were performed, though there were numerous potential recipients. One obstacle facing the medical community is that the law does not define brain death as human death, yet only allows brain dead patients to donate organs. Even though many Japanese are uncomfortable with the idea of removing an organ from the body with beating heart, even if the brain is not functioning. As a result, no national consensus on brain death has been reached, and organs are in short supply. To cope with the shortage, animal organs, such as bamboo and pig livers, can be used. In the US, more than 30 animal-to-human transplants have been performed since 1963. Obstacles remain, however. The body can reject the organ or contract an animal disease, and some people oppose such transplant for ethical reasons. よし。